Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel, The Things I Do for My Health, where I'm probably a doctor's worst nightmare when it comes to medical issues because I will rather first turn to finding natural remedies to deal with any internal or external ailments before I will go for medical help. Now, a lot of people might be like, that is just being very irresponsible and you shouldn't do things like that. Whereas I feel I'm actually being very responsible with my health because I feel that turning to medication to try and fix one issue, but that's going to break others, I feel like that is being irresponsible for myself. I would rather see what I can do to help myself naturally and to rather build my body up and support my body as opposed to putting in chemicals or anything that might fix one problem but cause damage in another area. So now, I have tried very many different natural products and supplements to try and help to not only boost my health, but to deal with various issues. And I've had various range of successes and non-success stories with certain things that I've used. And while I will still continue to use some products, I might not necessarily um, have the success stories with certain products that you will see on other YouTube channels. Or I might Google a particular item and read about the benefits of it. And I will try it and I'll find that I don't necessarily have those same benefits for myself. But that doesn't stop me from using it because I'm also aware of the fact that something can still be good for me even if I'm not physically feeling it or necessarily noticing it. I'm also aware that when you use something that's natural, it's going to take time. So before judging something, I would like to use something minimum a month, preferably minimum 3 months if possible, depending on how much the item might cost. And even longer than that, because sometimes you've got to build it up in your system, you've got to give your body a chance to right the wrongs. And I think that's also another issue. When you're going natural, it's also important to remember that if you've been eating unnatural foods or using unnatural products for many, many years, you cannot use something that's natural for a couple of days or a couple of weeks and then give up on it because it's not doing anything. You've probably put years and years and years of damage into your body, and it's going to take a couple of months or a couple of years to try and undo that damage. That is why I like to keep up with things. So I don't always have to see results. Of course, it is nice to see results, but I don't have to in order to keep using something if I know it's still benefiting me in the long run. But that being said, there are four products that I've got here with me, which I have noticed have had very good results and in some cases instant results. So I wanted to share that with you so that you can see what has been working for me. So I might be having some products that don't really do much. These ones are the ones I can testify are perfect for me. I know some people might have different results, but this is what works for me. So I'm just going to list these products now, and you can see what I've been using that I have found very beneficial for my health. So I'm going to start off with the smallest item first. And I know that we've all, at some stage, have probably had toothache, tooth pain. And I came across this product a few years ago, and I was really amazed at how well this worked to numb the pain of anything that's going wrong. So sometimes I've got three wisdom teeth. So I've got two wisdom teeth at the bottom, one at the top here. I've got no wisdom tooth at the top here. I've seen x-rays, there is no tooth there. Yay me, I didn't have to go through dealing with four wisdom teeth coming through. But sometimes the gum at the bottom tooth here gets a bit inflamed. My mouth is slightly crowded, but not too bad. And it will sometimes get slightly inflamed. So what do I do in that case when it does get slightly infected? This is what I use. This is this is clovebudoil. This is organic clovebud oil. I always try and go organic where I can, where it's available. Clove bud oil is absolutely amazing. Now, it took some getting used to because it does not taste great. You should not be swallowing this. I know this personally. I did not try and swallow it, but obviously it mixes a bit with the saliva, and then I swallowed, and it really did not taste great, burnt my throat, not nice. And it is very strong. So you need to be careful when using this. So what I would do with this, I take an earbud, I just put a couple of drops onto the tip of the earbud, and I just put the earbud and I rub it along the gum or wherever it's sore. And it tastes terrible. It can almost like have a burning feeling for a short while. When I say a short while, once I've put a sufficient amount on, and then what I do is obviously because there's saliva building up, and I'll put it on my mouth, and I'll make sure that any excess saliva, I'll keep spitting it out into the sink just a few times until I'm just sure there's no more excess saliva that I'm going to accidentally swallow. And within about 2 minutes, I've kind of forgotten about it. And then when I think about it, I'm like, oh, it's, my gum's not hurting anymore. And so if you can just push through the taste and the slight burniness for about a minute or two, you'll actually even forget that you had a sore tooth until someone asks, how's your tooth feeling? And then you're like, oh, I haven't even noticed it for a while. But it's more, obviously, it's not just taking away the pain for me. There are more benefits to it. And that is also what I want to discuss. So obviously it's not good just to deal with something like if you've got pain and you want to be alleviated of the pain and you take a painkiller, but the problem can still be there. So what I do like about taking clove bud oil is that yes, it helps to numb the pain or alleviate the pain, but there's also other beneficial qualities. So if I'm putting some clove bud oil onto my tooth here, um, if my gum is slightly infected and it just numbs it and that's it, I'm just kind of kicking the can down the road. I'm just ignoring the problem. But what I do like is that the clove bud oil is doing more than just numbing it. So I'm just having a look here. So at the various benefits of it. And it's good for myself to also just be reminded of this. Sometimes you forget. You just know, I just use this for my tooth pain. But I do like to remind myself of the other things that it's good for. It's got antibacterial properties. It fights harmful oral bacteria. So it's, besides pain relieving properties, it's got powerful antibacterial properties that can fight off harmful oral bacteria. And obviously an infection is as a result of you've got some sort of bacterial or some sort of virus that is there. So it's good to know that while it is, my gum has been numbed, it's also the bacteria is being fought off by this. It's got antioxidant benefits and protects your oral health from free radicals. It also, and this is a great one, especially when you've got a sore tooth, which I actually find that toothache is one of the worst things, because if you've got a sore arm or a sore back or anything like that, you can kind of deal with it. But I do find tooth pain to be one of the worst kinds of pain. And so this one is great, is that it promotes healing and it speeds up recovery time. And so it says here that it can help promote healing in the infective area. It can stimulate the production of collagen, and this is a protein that plays a crucial role in wound healing and tissue repair. So I actually didn't know that about stimulating the collagen. That's good to know. See, even I'm learning something from my own channel. And also it's anti-inflammatory. So the anti-inflammatory properties can help reduce swelling and redness in an infected area. Wow, this one's interesting. Remember I told you it's got not a great flavor? It says here it freshens breath. Say goodbye to bad breath. Ah, there we go. When I said it's with the flavor, they've described it here as warm, spicy aroma. That's right. It is a warm, spicy, but it's just because it's very strong. Again, but just don't swallow it. So it has antibacterial properties and can fight off harmful oral bacteria. It soothes sore gums, and it helps with sensitive gums. It helps soothe sore and inflamed gums when you're dealing with gingivitis, periodontitis, or just have sensitive gums. It can apparently as well reduce sensitivity. I can't testify to this one. I don't know, but I will tell you what I do use on the occasions where I have had tooth sensitivity, and it is actually one of the products that I'm going to show you in this video. It says that it can also prevent cavities. Because of its antibacterial properties, it can help prevent the development of cavities and tooth decay. What I'm actually doing to try and prevent cavities and tooth decay is I'm using xylitol morning and evening, but it's good to know that clove oil can do the same. It says it can relieve dry sockets after a tooth extraction. I have had a tooth extracted a couple of years ago. It was even though like my option was root canal or tooth extraction, and even though I knew root canals are actually really, really bad for you, it was still a difficult decision to make because obviously losing a tooth, you're worrying about how is it going to look or how you're going to eat. But for me, the benefits of extracting the tooth outweighed any of the negative things that I came across. At the end of the day, I just did not want a root canal, knowing that it could be breeding bacteria and it could affect my health later on. So I opted rather to have it extracted, and that was when I first came across the clovebudoil. So, and I was really happy about that. It's been great. It also says that it boosts immune system and it supports your body's natural defensive. So because of its antioxidants and anti-inflammatory properties, it can help boost your immune system. And it's also very interesting to note that a lot of what goes on in your mouth can affect your overall health. In fact, I've come across hearing or reading, I can never remember, how your oral health can also affect your heart. And, bad oral health can result in heart attacks and things like that. So it's very good to look after your gums, your teeth, and things. It also improves digestion. Again, it's just amazing how much your mouth affects the rest of your body. So it says it can improve digestion and alleviate common digestive issues such as bloating, gas, and indigestion. It reduces inflammation, which we've come across already. There we go. It enhances circulation and promotes cardiovascular health. So again, when you've got an infection in your mouth, it's good to obviously get good blood circulation. It's going to bring all the good things to that area. So yeah, that is clovebudoil. I have had great success with it. I always keep a little bottle like this in my cabinets. Any small little ache, whatever, few drops onto your earbud, rub it on, and that's it. My husband also uses it. Sometimes he doesn't tell me, but he comes to bed and I can actually just smell the spiciness. And I'm like, somebody's been in the cabinet. So that is great. So that is the first thing that I have had absolute amazing results with when it comes to using natural things. The next thing that I use and I came across is actually not that long ago, maybe a year ago. And this has been fantastic. And it's called DMSO. And DMSO, it has been relatively unknown for a couple of decades. It was very well known apparently in the 1960s. It was kind of demonized, from my understanding, by the FDA. However, DMSO continued to be used with the preservation of organs that were being used in organ transplants, and it's actually quite an amazing product. So DMSO, it's good for pain relief, inflammation, joint pain. There's a number of items here. It says it's good for nerve pain, fibromyalgia, muscle recovery and sports injuries, headaches and migraines, shingles and skin irritations, and autoimmune disorders and chronic conditions. I can't testify to all of those things because I don't have a lot of those things, but I have used it for minor pain relief. The other day, well, a couple of weeks ago, I was going down our stairs and I just noticed like above my knee, it was a weird kind of sharp pain feeling that every time I bent my leg, it was really sore. So I had to just turn sideways and just try and go down carefully. And so I went and I grabbed the DMSO and it's got this dropper. I just put a few drops on and I rubbed it onto the sore area. I must admit it was almost instantaneous. Went, back up the stairs again, and immediately the pain was gone. I know not everyone is going to have this sort of result, and obviously whatever just caused that sharp pain was probably something that was fairly minor, and it was easy to treat, but it really worked for me in that regard. However, there are a few things with DMSO. So DMSO is a completely natural product. It's apparently a byproduct from wood pulp from the wood industry that was discovered, I think, over 100 years ago. So it is completely natural. However, it is in its pure form, in its undiluted form. It is very it has like a burning feel if you put it directly onto the skin, and so it is recommended to rather dilute it with distilled water. The dilution that I tend to go with is 70-30. So 70% DMSO, 30% water. And even then, I mean, it's still got a bit of a burn. Sometimes I even use it as eardrops in my ears, and I will occasionally, when I put it in, I'll just get a little bit of it running down here, which I quickly wipe away. But anywhere it touches, it'll be like I'm just kind of rubbing it for a while afterwards because it's almost got like a little bit of an itchy feel to it. The other day, my mother fell off her bike. She bumped into a pole, and she ended up with a very badly scratched arm. And so we were putting a little bit of the DMSO on. It was helping with the pain relief, and it was helping especially with the healing of the wound itself. And so that was a great test for her. It was her first time using DMSO. She only arrived in Ireland just a month ago yesterday, and I had told her about this product. She'd never come across it before, so it was lovely that she got to try it out, and she was very happy with the results. Also, my mother does have rheumatoid arthritis, so this will be a product I will be recommending that she will try on her joints whenever she gets flare-ups. She has been doing very well lately with not getting flare-ups, and so long may it last, but if something comes up, I'll get her to try this. Also, where I get this from, so this is just the pure DMSO. I also buy DMSO mixed with magnesium. I don't need it as often anymore. I don't really get restless legs that often. I used to get it quite often, but I am taking sufficient magnesium supplements now, which I think have actually helped quite a bit. So how else is DMSO used, or what it's good for? It's good for muscle recovery and injuries. It reduces swelling, stiffness, bruising while promoting faster healing. So that's great. It's good for nerve pain and fibromyalgia. It says your nerve pain is unlike any other pain. It burns, tingles, and can be utterly unbearable. And how DMSO helps is it's shown to calm overactive nerve signals by blocking pain fibers and providing relief for neuropathy, fibromyalgia, and CRPS, which is complex regional pain syndrome. So again, I've never had these issues, so I can't testify to it. This is obviously just one of the things that it mentions. It's also apparently good for tendon injuries, and it's good for circulation and blood flow. It helps improve oxygen and nutrient delivery to tissues. So these are all the things that are beneficial about DMSO. But there are a few warnings, and when I say a few warnings, it's not warnings on symptoms or side effects, other than the fact that I said it can have like a burning effect or a burning feel. Not a painful burn, it's just more of a like a itchiness kind of. But the warnings for this is that DMSO is super absorbent into the skin, and whatever touches DMSO DMSO will attach itself onto it and pull that into your skin as well. So you've got to be careful when using this. You've got to make sure that your skin is clean. So if you're going to use this, it's preferential to use it after you've had a shower, your skin is clean, and you don't put anything onto your skin after applying DMSO for 20 to 30 minutes afterwards. For example, like I would not um, put this on and then you would handle some sort of chemical product, especially if you're using products that are not natural, if you're using harmful cleaning products, things like that, because then it will attach to the DMSO and it will get pulled into your bloodstream. I also use DMSO sometimes on my face as well. I might just, if I'm putting something on my face like castor oil, I do want that to kind of get pulled more into my skin. So I'll put DMSO lightly, just, dab it on my eyes and wherever. And I find that when I use it, I can taste it very, very shortly after I have put it onto my skin. DMSO does have a very unusual taste. It's the only way to describe it is like garlicky, not garlic, but garlicky. It's like you can taste it's not garlic, but that is the closest kind of similar flavor that it's got. Um, and when I said before, it's completely safe. Use it on your skin. You can also consume it, and I have done this in the past, but now I have seen some people say they put it in their tea, and I wouldn't put it in my tea for two reasons. One, because I don't necessarily want some of the ingredients that's in the tea to get absorbed into my body. Like I'll drink tea because I like the flavor, but I know it's not necessarily, very healthy for me. Especially the fact that I do have sugar in my tea. And so I also wouldn't put it into drinking water, especially drinking water has got various chemicals in it to clean the water, but also it's got fluoride. Now, fluoride is something that I avoid. We've been taught for years fluoride is good for your teeth. What a lot of people don't know is fluoride is actually a toxic byproduct, and generally when you get factories that make certain products and they then inevitably end up with byproducts from whatever they're making. And to make money, they will then try and sell the byproduct so that they're making money from the main product and then they're making money from the byproduct that they can sell off anywhere. So fluoride was a byproduct and it somehow ended up in the dental industry. But fluoride is toxic, which is why I don't know about you, but I remember as a kid, I was told not to eat toothpaste. I still did. I was told don't eat it because you'll get worms. I didn't believe it. I can just remember like taking little bits and eating it. Nobody explained to me don't eat it because it's got fluoride in. Fluoride's actually toxic, and that is what we were brushing our teeth with. But I haven't used any toothpaste that's had fluoride in for years and years and years, and I never will again. I don't like to drink the drinking water if possible, but sometimes you just can't avoid it. But that's why I won't put any DMSO into drinking water. I don't want any of those chemicals being pulled into my body. But what I do is that I will sometimes put 3-4 drops into raw milk, and then I just know it's going to help. The DMSO will attach to anything in there, and it'll help pull it in. I have read that it's you've also got to be careful if you are going to have this orally with medication because it can absorb. Like we know our bodies are not going to absorb everything that we consume, but it will absorb more with this. So I would have 3 or 4 drops in raw milk, and then I would take my supplements. And then at least I know that more of my supplements would get absorbed than it would ordinarily. But, and this is a big but, and this is something I wouldn't have known if it wasn't for my daughter telling me, is that apparently taking this orally makes my breath smell terrible. So, what happened was I put some of this in my milk. I remember specifically in the morning on a Wednesday, and then I put some in my milk in the morning on a Thursday, and I went into the office that Thursday. And my daughter works at the same company that I do. She works in a different department, and she was chatting with me, and she just said, Mom, I just need to let you know there's a bad smell around you. And that obviously made me feel self-conscious for the whole day, talking to people, and you're like, ask them something, and then just quickly close your mouth, like, okay, all right. So, so that made me feel terribly self-conscious. So what I then started doing, it was good to know. It was just horrible to only find that out when I was already in the office in the morning, knowing I had to spend the whole day there. And so then I would only use this occasionally in the morning on days I was staying at home, and I would make sure I wouldn't have it on days that I was going into the office. And but there was a few weeks ago, our daughter was staying here while she was looking for another place to stay. She was just in between accommodations, and I had this in the morning. And it was a day I was not going to the office, but she was. And then she was taking the train home, and I went to fetch her from the train station. She literally opened up the back door of the car to put her laptop bag in, and then she said to me, Have you had DMSO today? This was at the end of the day, and I had 3 or 4 drops of this in the morning, and she could still smell it on me. So, yeah, like I said, it's a bit of a garlicky smell, and apparently, if you consume this orally, that smell can stick with you. I couldn't smell it on myself at all, but she could. I asked my husband, he said he couldn't really notice anything, but maybe he was just being polite. Who knows? So, yeah, you can consume it orally and put it on your skin. And then there is a third thing that I used it for. And I know some people kind of thought I was a bit crazy with this one, but I heard it was actually good for your eyes. And some people have said that uh, it clears things like floaters and improved vision and whatnot. And obviously, I was like, I wonder if this will help me. Now, if you've got any eye ailments, it can apparently help, but I wasn't sure if it could help with just normal eyesight degeneration, which is kind of what I'm having. Obviously, as I get older, it's, I need to wear glasses a bit more. And I decided the one day to give this a try. And I tried it, and I tried it a number of times. Now, I don't think I've tried it often enough, consecutively enough, because I didn't want to go through it too quickly. But I do want to try this again, but I want to try it in like a proper trial period where I use this once or maybe twice a day, morning, evening, for at least 1, 2, or 3 months. So I'll do that. I'll do a video on that when, one day when I get around to doing it. But I have used this in my eyes, directly into my eyes, numerous times. And I did this, it was a calculated risk. I did read about experiments that were done using DMSO. They were talking about where there were trials done and results. And so because it does burn, that is why I was like, do I, don't I, do I, don't I? Eventually I was like, just do it. If you've watched my other videos, I've always said I will use myself as a guinea pig for something, because I like to have first-hand experience on something. You can read something to a certain point, but then I'm like, right, now's the time to try it out. So yeah, I would I have got other bottles, so it's never straight from this one, because remember, this is the pure form that I get. I've got little brown bottles like this. You never keep DMSO in plastic bottles. It will attach to the plastic and it will get absorbed into your bloodstream. You do not want that. It's always got to be kept in glass, preferably dark glass, and just make sure it doesn't touch plastic. If you are mixing DMSO with distilled water, you never do it in a plastic container. It's got to be non-plastic. It's got to be something that is non-toxic, that DMSO will not attach to. So yeah, I mix this into my little container with distilled water, and again, I go with the 70-30 mix, and then I'll put like 1 drop into my eye, into each eye, purely because it's that anticipation. So while I'm like holding the dropper over my eye, you're doing the rapid blinking, and I'm like, why is it not dropping already? I'm trying to squeeze, and then eventually it comes through. So 1 drop per eye is all I've been able to manage. And yes, it burns. Not in a, you've thrown acid into your eye burn. It's you open your eyes in seawater burn. Maybe a little bit stronger than seawater, but yeah, it is like that. But it doesn't last long. 20, 30 seconds, it's over. It makes your eyes run like crazy. That's why I prefer doing it before I get in the shower. So I'll be ready to shower. I'll do this, and but I actually make sure I know where things are beforehand. So I'll see where am I standing. My towel's over there. There's the shower doors. If there's anything, or if I need to put something down, I'll know how far away it is because I know I'm not going to be able to see for at least a minute. So I'll put it in, and then I'm like feeling around. There's the shelf, put it down there. Where is the shower? Get in there. And because I'm constantly, I don't want to wash it out of my eyes, but I've got to like wipe around my eyes. Because obviously it's like my eyes are really, really watering. I used to do it after my shower, and then I'm like, no, let me just do it before my shower. At least that way, when I wash my face and whatnot, then I can clear away my tears of joy of having this natural stuff, doing whatever. I have heard great success stories about using DMSO. I can't verify it, but that is why I'm willing to try these things out on myself. I have heard about a case of a woman in California who had a stroke, and someone nearby had DMSO on hand, and they rubbed it on her head, and apparently she had a full recovery from the stroke. DMSO also helps to prevent nerve death, which is why it's very good. So even apparently for people who have, if in an instant of where they've had an incident and they've broken their neck or broken their spine or something like that, apparently if you rub DMSO onto that area frequently, within the first hour, it can actually stop those nerves from dying. And I've read of cases where it's stimulated some nerves where people thought, it's too late, nerves are dead. And someone once said that they were rubbing it on their head for whatever reason, and they noticed their eyesight started to improve because DMSO is super absorbable. Like I said, when I was rubbing it on my face, I could taste it in my mouth very quickly afterwards. And I will put it on my eyes. I'll even put it on top of my eyes slightly. If I'm putting any like the castor oil, coconut oil, rosemary oil concoction to my hair, I'll put a few drops of this as well in to help all of the stuff to absorb better into my scalp. So DMSO has been great for me with regards to pain. Oh, there was also a time again where I had just for some reason sensitivity just like along here inside my mouth, at the bottom of my teeth. And like I said, I use clove oil, but I also decided, I thought to myself, you know what, since DMSO helps things to absorb well into your bloodstream and into your skin area, I thought, let me use this with the clove oil. So I just got my distilled water and DMSO concoction, and I just put a few drops just on, between the inside of my mouth and my teeth. And then I took the clove oil, and then I just put some clove oil onto the earbud, and then I dabbed it over, and that was it. It wasn't a matter of once it wore off, I then felt the pain again. It was gone, completely gone, didn't come back. So I believe that these two products worked in conjunction, and that was a great result that I had from that. So yeah, that was a great product to have. And this is also something I keep in my cupboard for emergencies as well. Right, so the next item that I have on my list of something that has worked well for me, but not necessarily in all areas that it is known to have good health benefits, and that is coconut oil. Although this one's nearly finished, I need to pop out and get another one. So coconut oil has got a number of benefits, and I think a lot of people have benefited more than what I probably have. So I just want to quickly just go over some of the benefits, and then I'll tell you how it has benefited me most. So I'm just on this one website here where it says, okay, it increases HDL cholesterol levels. Okay, great. That doesn't really interest me much. This one is interesting where it says it promotes weight loss. because it's got a significant amount of medium chain triglycerides that's linked to increased calorie burning. I haven't really noticed anything. That being said, I don't actually consume it a lot. What I do is I sometimes use this for cooking. There's two things that I use. I don't use seed oils. I haven't cooked with seed oils for years. I will use organic ghee, which is my go-to, or I will use coconut oil. I will use ghee more often than coconut oil. There are certain things where I'll use coconut oil. I did use coconut oil when I was cooking pasta the one day, and that was a mistake. Or maybe the mistake was just the amount that I used, because the pasta ended up being very slimy and it wasn't nice. I didn't like it at all. So I'm not a huge fan of coconut oil in the sense of too much cooking with it, because I don't like how it can change the flavor to like a coconutty flavor. Not a fan of that. Um, so I do prefer to use ghee where possible. So maybe the weight loss would assist me more if I ate it more, but yeah, can't confirm or deny that. It says here it can act as a quick energy source. Okay. It says it's often used by athletes, bodybuilders, and by those who are dieting. Okay, I suppose I can look more into this at some stage, because when it says that it's used by these people for these things, it's like, how much, how often, how do they even consume it? Are they just eating it off a teaspoon? Are they frying food in it and that's sufficient? I don't know. It says you can improve heart health. As I said earlier, it helps promote HDL cholesterol, so yeah, I can imagine that would help heart health. Promotes healthy hair. It says many women apply oil regularly for a thick and lustrous mane. I've been using this mixed with castor oil and rosemary oil for my hair. Haven't really noticed too much. Yeah, I mean, after the very next day when I wash my hair, it's looking healthy and shiny. Has it been thickening my hair? Not at all. But like I said in another video, it's also genetics. I can put whatever I want on. My mom has got thin hair. My dad has got super thin hair. Honestly, I just think I didn't stand a chance when it came to that. Here it says it's good for the skin, which yes, I highly believe. It's because it's rich in antibacterial, anti-aging, antioxidant, and anti-inflammatory properties. It says it may also aid in treating various skin problems, eczema, UV radiation, dermatitis, skin wound. It can help speed up wound healing as well. Dry skin. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it is super great. And so it's got all of effective in treatment of epilepsy. That's interesting. My son had epileptic seizures as a child, which he no longer has, but that's something interesting to look into at another stage. But all right, so let me tell you what I use it for, where it has been fantastic. So firstly, and the first two items I both used orally, as well as the DMSO for any aches and pains elsewhere, but also orally. I will use this for oil pulling. A lot of you may have heard about oil pulling before. If you've never heard of oil pulling, it's when you use this for a minimum of 20 minutes, like mouthwash in the morning, and then you spit it out. Don't swallow it. So what I would do is I would go in the morning, I'd get a teaspoon, and what I would say is that when I first used this, I used too much, and it kind of makes you feel like you're about to gag. And so I eventually started off with maybe half a teaspoon, and I noticed I can now actually use more. You kind of get used to it. And so I would use a decent size amount, but it's also important not to use too much, knowing that while it's in your mouth for 20 minutes, your mouth is also being stimulated and producing saliva. So then you're just going to end up like, with coconut oil and saliva. So you've got to get that right balance where you've got enough of this. You don't want too little where it doesn't really feel like there's enough to go around your mouth, but to also leave room for the excess saliva that your mouth is going to generate. So I will then use this first thing in the morning, get up, get some of this, because it can be really boring doing this. If you wake up and you want to talk to people in your household or whatnot. So I'll do this in the morning, where I will do my bathroom time and my shower even with coconut oil, so that by the time the 20 minutes are up, I'm, it's kind of like multitasking, and then that's done. So then what I'll do is I'll then spit the coconut oil out, not down the drain though. Those will end up blocking the drain if you keep doing that over months and years. Another recommendation is to not spit it on your grass. It will kill your grass. Yes, I killed some of my grass. You could just see where I used to just spit on certain areas, and you just see these streaks of dead patches of grass. So what I started doing is I would go and I'd spit it out on the weed areas, and it would eventually kill the weeds. Purely because I think the oil coats the leaves of the weeds, and then they can't absorb oxygen and they eventually die off. Or spit it into at one stage I was spitting it into a jar, but eventually that became a no-no. It just wasn't working out. So what happens is because coconut oil is antibacterial, antifungal, antiviral, all of that, it's great. So first thing in the morning, because obviously your mouth is like, full of bacteria, you use this before you eat, and you do it for 20 minutes because it actually pulls like all the bad bacteria, probably maybe some good bacteria, but it pulls the bacteria out, and it sticks onto the oil, which is why you don't want to swallow it. You don't want to now put all that bacteria into your body. And then I would spit it out. I would rinse my mouth out with warm water, and then I'd brush my teeth. And what I'm doing now, it's a fairly new thing I started doing a few weeks ago. It's after I brush my teeth, I will then have some xylitol, because then bad bacteria that's still in your mouth will feed off the xylitol, and it apparently ends up starving the bad bacteria. And I've been having some interesting observations with using xylitol, and that my teeth do feel cleaner for longer during the day. But anyway, so this has been great. So I told you before about tooth sensitivity. So I noticed a number of years ago, the top of my tooth here, just under the gum, was very sensitive. If I just touched like that, it was like ow, like you could feel the nerves. And when I started doing oil pulling, within a few days, that was gone. I don't know what it did or how, or if it was just coating the area, or if it just gave the tooth a chance to heal. This helped with my tooth sensitivity. Another great thing about coconut oil for me personally is that I make my own underarm deodorant paste with coconut oil. Also, I use coconut oil, arrowroot powder, and bicarb powder. So those three things makes a nice little paste. Every morning, every evening, I put that under my arms, and that's perfect. I do not have any sweat smell at all the whole day. It is absolutely fantastic. I put off making this paste for ages every time I did come across it on the internet, because I was thinking coconut oil is just going to be oily on my clothes. But it was actually great. One day I just succumbed. I'm just like, let me just make it and try it. And I think it's because of the bicarb powder and the arrowroot powder that it doesn't leave an oily residue on my clothes. When I rub it under my arm, it does melt a bit, which is nice because then it spreads. But then it's fine. It just doesn't affect my clothes at all. And it's natural. I haven't bought any deodorants for, how long have I been using this? It's been less than a year that I started making this, but I literally have not had to buy deodorants for at least 9 or 10 months, because this works so well. This works better than any deodorant, natural or otherwise, that I've ever used. And it's just a little homemade paste with just those three ingredients, and it has been fantastic to use. I highly recommend, if they are products that you are not sensitive to. I just use myself again as a bit of a guinea pig. Let me try it out, and I have not regretted it at all. And now for the final item that I've used that I have personally experienced amazing benefits from, and that would be vitamin C. Now you're thinking like vitamin C, okay, everyone knows about vitamin C. Like, yes, everyone knows about vitamin C. And a lot of people take vitamin C, but I can almost guarantee you that if you ask anyone, have they had any noticeable differences or benefits from it, it'll probably be no. People will take it because, yes, it's good for your health, and everybody knows vitamin C is good for you. But have you noticed anything? And I like this is a typical, um, just a typical shop branded vitamin C. And I've often heard people talk about being careful about what supplements you take, because a lot of them just get flushed right out, and some of them are useless, and some don't absorb well. And yes, that's all true. But I was very interested to discover, because I was taking this vitamin C. This is 1,500 milligrams, so this is the highest dosage that I've been able to find here in Ireland. And I do like this because if I want to take high doses of vitamin C, it just means I have to swallow less of these bad boys. These things are huge. These are like suppositories. In fact, there's some days I do have trouble with swallowing tablets. And like my daughter will literally have like a handful of tablets, and she'll put the whole lot into her mouth and she'll swallow it no problem. For me, I battle to get one of these down. And so sometimes I have to actually break it in half and then swallow it twice. We'll do two swallowings for it. Other times I can manage to have one of these, but it's been great. But so then, I never knew, is this just one of these ones that will go straight through you? Is it any good? And I was very interested to discover that the one day really needed high dose vitamin C, and this worked. So I was like, okay, it is good to know this isn't just rubbish. This really does work. So, how did this help? I was suffering with recurring underarm infections that started in 2020. I was at my peak health in years. I was running every day up to about 7 kilometers a day. I had completely cut out bread. I had completely cut out sugar, which, if you know me, is a big thing because I have 3 sugars in my tea or coffee. I love sugar. So at that stage, I'd cut out bread, I'd cut out sugar, and I was drinking herbal teas like it was going out of fashion. And I was very saddened to discover the one day that I had an ache under my arm. It was just a weird achy feeling. And when I could feel deep under the skin a bump, or it felt like a little marble lump that was there. And it grew and it became quite a big boil. And then a few more came up, but they were smaller. And then eventually I started getting under this arm as well. And I didn't go to the doctor. 2020, not a great year to go to a doctor. And I Googled about it, and it came up that there was a high chance it was something called hidradenitis suppurativa. That is the way I pronounce it. I don't know how other people might pronounce it. The shortened version of it is HS. So I was now concerned that I might have HS, which is an autoimmune problem that can start in women. I was in the right age group for it. I think men can also get it, but it's more common in women. And so I was struggling with this for a couple of months. And I was trying everything on it. My husband used to, and it's a very awkward place to try and put something on and cover up. So my husband I put cotton wool over it, and my husband was putting bandages like going diagonal across and around my back and neck, and it was just, and then obviously I try and sleep like that, and you wake up in the morning and it's all messed and squashed, and all the cotton wool and whatnot has come out, and it was just a mess. It was a horrible time. And I was trying all sorts of things. I was putting on manuka honey, I was putting on turmeric and manuka, I was putting on garlic. I was also consuming all these things as well. Nothing was really working. And then eventually, when my daughter started getting it, and that's when I realized this is not HS. HS is autoimmune, so you can't transfer it to someone else. And in a way, my daughter getting it was a saving grace, because that was when I realized, okay, this must be bacterial. We must have shared something, a towel or a razor or something. And a doctor confirmed that it wasn't HS, but I sent her pictures and she said to me, she said, I can see why you thought it was. She said, it does look very similar. But the fact that my daughter got it means it wasn't. And at that point, I literally at one point had 9 boils on one arm and 10 boils under the other arm. It was uncomfortable. It was horrible. The stuff I was putting on, it was wrecking my clothes. And it was just horrible feeling that I couldn't wear clothes properly because it was sensitive. It was a really, really horrible time. So, yes, I succumbed and I went onto penicillin. Um, Cleared it up. I did start getting another one a few months later, went back onto penicillin, and then it cleared up for a year and a half until I got another one, and then went to the doctor, got some antibiotics. And then it came up a third time, um, which was beginning of last year. It was the third or fourth time. I can't remember now. Immediately, I was also trying again. Like, I know this can be beaten naturally. I just need to figure out how. So immediately, I was in South Africa at the time. It started coming up the day I left. So the very next day after I landed back in Ireland, I went for intravenous vitamin C. I started taking a whole bunch of other products, turmeric, manuka honey, black seed oil, the most disgusting thing ever on this planet to consume. Tastes like a rubbish dump. And lo and behold, the infection started healing. It started going away. And I was like, yay, this is great. And I just carried on with it. But then I felt a new bump starting. So the original infection was dying, but what I was doing for some reason did not stop a new infection from coming up. So I was very despondent. I was like, everything is working. Why is it not stopping now a new infection? So after about 2 weeks, I was in, I've got to go to the doctor now. Went to the doctor. I had two doctors previously say that it was from shaving, which I thought was strange because I've been shaving, under my arms for like the past, 30 odd years. And then the third doctor I saw, she said to me, it's not from shaving. She just said it's bacterial, but whatever. I do now know it is from shaving, but I don't know why. Because after that, if maybe 2 months later, it started coming up again. And I've noticed now that whenever I do shave under my arms, I do get like little bumps, like tiny, like little whitehead bumps. So for some reason, shaving under my arm, or especially this one, is just super sensitive now to shaving. So if I do shave under my arms now, I make sure I rub castor oil underneath it, um, and it really helps a lot. Even like with bikini shaving, rub castor oil and it stops those sort of things, or it helps a lot. Um, but then it came up a third time last year. It was the first time I had it so frequently. So it really seemed to be getting worse. And the antibiotics were obviously killing off the infection, but it wasn't stopping the infection from coming back. And I hate taking antibiotics with a passion. And so I was like, really, every time it was happening, I was still trying to sort it out naturally before running to antibiotics because I just want to get this resolved. And I could feel the third time last year, I could feel something was happening. I'm like, oh, not again. And so I had just so happened to be watching an interview. I follow this chap by the name of Chris Walk, who's got a website called chrisbeatcancer.com. And he talks about how to beat cancer naturally without turning to the traditional means of like chemo and radiation and even surgeries and whatnot. And I've been following him for years. Might not necessarily agree with everything. I actually discovered raw milk through him, and I love my raw milk. He now kind of promotes going dairy free. Sorry, dude, not going to happen. Love my dairy. But he was doing an interview with someone, and they were talking about vitamin C, and he was saying about how when your body is dealing with an infection or a sickness, it uses a lot more vitamin C, and in fact, it can use up a typical dose of vitamin C within 3 hours. So you need to keep maintaining vitamin C throughout the day. And he was saying that your body can actually use up to 20 times the regular vitamin C when you're sick than obviously when you're healthy. And that's when it occurred to me I was using vitamin C previously. I just wasn't using a super high dose. I think I was before I used to have like a minimum of 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C a day. So when I was getting these infections, I was having about 4,000, and then I'm like, I don't think I'm having enough vitamin C. So without adding anything else to my routine, I just increased my vitamin C. So before, as I said, I was having manuka honey, black seed oil, turmeric tablets, and a whole lot of other things. And this time, I didn't have any of that. I only had vitamin C. And so I managed to increase my vitamin C to 15,000 milligrams daily. And now, vitamin C, when your body doesn't need it, like it always need it, but when your body doesn't need the excess vitamin C, it will cause you to have a runny tummy. I was having up to 15,000 milligrams, and it wasn't easy. It's not easy having that much, but that's why I said having like this high dose 1,500 milligram tablets made it easier, because then I could have 2 of these every couple of hours. And then I knew I could get up to the 15,000 milligrams. I was having 15,000 milligrams a day. My tummy was fine, which meant that my body was using the vitamin C. And this is when I realized that even this standard shop brand vitamin C actually works, because it was literally 3 or 4 days later I noticed the infection started dying. And I kept up with this, and then I noticed that my tummy was running a bit with 15,000, so I reduced it to 12, and then after a few days I had to reduce it to 9, and then maybe reduce it again to about 7, and the infection cleared up. So I can personally attest to how vitamin C works for me. I've never had another one of those flare-ups. In fact, when I have shaved, and I would get just like a tiny little sensitive, look like a little white bump under my arm, because I have had those convert to those bigger bumps that became boils. If that's happened, I immediately increase my vitamin C. It clears up. So yeah, this has been fantastic, and I am a big believer of vitamin C. I like to have now just standard. I have 6. I have about 6,000 milligrams of vitamin C a day, and it's fine. It works fine for me. Doesn't upset my tummy, and it's great. So if I ever notice a slight infection, I'll just increase it to maybe 9, and if it's a super bad infection, I would increase it even more. So yes, this has worked great for me. Now, earlier on, I was talking about 4 products that work well for me personally. Actually, there's 5. I forgot about one, and I want to include it in here. And this is one that a lot of people will know about, and that is echinaforce. And it's the A. Vogel one that I specifically use. This is brilliant. If I don't take it all year round, I do find if I'm going to get flu, it tends to happen about October, November into December. So I like to try and start taking before then. It's supposed to apparently help reduce the time that you're sick with flu. I find once I'm kind of sick, I do take this, but it's going to run the course no matter what. For me, it's important. I've got to be taking this before I get exposed. And my experience is that if I'm taking this, like if my husband gets sick with flu, I won't get flu if I'm already taking this. And my experience is just that I do not get flu. I do not have to be taking anything else, any other supplements, because I have been taking echinaforce at times in my life where I wasn't taking a single other supplement. I do not get sick with flu with this, unless the only times I've been taking this where I still got sick with flu, and that was when I was under high stress, really high stress. I had my own businesses and I was going through a phase at one stage where I was incredibly overwhelmed and run down and crying a lot. And so that was obviously a stress factor that was more than my body could deal with. So echinaforce on its own wasn't going to help then. But if I'm like now, just at a normal time in my life, good amount of stress, not bad stress that's really putting me into a depressive state, this has been fantastic. But now, interestingly enough, when I moved to Ireland, I started taking this, same packaging and everything. I found that the Irish version did not work as well for me. I thought that was very interesting. Now, I used to take this many years ago in South Africa. I eventually stopped because it was, you had to take like 20 drops a day in a small glass of water 5 times a day, and that just became too much. And then when I came across it again a couple of years later, it had changed to 20 drops in some water once a day. I can do that. That's great. And that was sufficient. 20 drops in the morning before I ate anything. It was great. Then when I came here, the version here was almost like the old version in South Africa, where it was also take it like 5 times a day. And I was taking it and I still got sick. I just thought that was really weird. So this one that I have here and a couple more that I have downstairs in the kitchen have all come from South Africa. Whenever somebody's coming and they ask me, is there anything you want? This is one of the things I ask them to bring. And so the one day I had one of the ones I bought in Ireland and this one, and I had a look, and it's so interesting. Again, same packaging, same company. The ratio of ingredients slightly different. So I'm just having a look here on this one site here. So it's showing here that what have we got here? Let me go to the English side. It's Afrikaans and English on here. Right, so where is it? So Echinacea purpurea. And as you probably realize, it comes from the echina flower. So it is a lovely natural product. So the Echinacea purpurea on the South African version is 860 milligrams, whereas on the Irish version, it is 614 milligrams. So it's more than 200 milligrams less with that one. And then there's another fresh root, Echinacea purpurea fresh root. The South African one is 45 milligrams. The Irish one is 32 milligrams. So for some reason, the Irish version seems to be a bit more diluted. It's not as strong. This is fantastic for me. If I take this, I'm fine. I will literally be around people coughing, sneezing, wheezing, blowing their nose, and going crazy. Whatever. Doesn't bother me. I'm not going to freak out, not going to run away, not going to mask up, not going to keep any distance. It's fine. My immune system's strong just from this one product. But now, because I'm obviously taking a lot more supplements for a lot longer, I'm very confident with the level that I've managed to bring my immune system up to. If I do get sick with something, I'm not scared of getting sick. My body will deal with it. Getting sick is a normal part of life. I might be able to build up immunity from it. Great. Or, my body will just deal with it and go along. As long as I'm giving my body what it needs to fight off infections, to fight off viruses or bacterial infections, that's fine. I'll go with it. So yes, those are the items which have been great for me. I don't know if any of these items that I mentioned here are something that you are already trying. Have you got success stories with it? I'd love to know how other people, or other people's experiences with these sort of products. And are there any other products that have worked well for you? And I would love to hear those stories, because if they're products maybe I haven't heard about or I've never tried, I'd like to know about them. I always love to know about new remedies or alternative remedies I haven't come across, because it is things I would like to try and possibly then, add to my regular health routine. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy the content. If you are not planning on subscribing, at least give the video a thumbs up just to make me feel happy that I haven't done this for nothing, although I enjoy doing it anyway. So thank you for watching. I do appreciate your time. It does mean a lot, and I do appreciate you. I appreciate you for watching. I appreciate you for liking. I appreciate you for subscribing, and I'll see you again in the next video.